Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining me for another episode of Ain't Gonna Be No Stupid. I am here with Nick Soto. Now,
Hello.
if you don't know him yet, you will soon because he is a musician on the move, and we're here really to talk about why he ain't gonna be no stupid stick in the mud. And it's a
Yep.
perfect title for the first show of the year 2021. We have been
Yeah.
sticking the muds though, Nick. Sorry, we've been sticking the muds because of
We
circumstances
have.
that we've been in, right? But
Yeah.
before we get into everything and anything, besides the fact that you were a student of mine freshman year, I have some funny stories about what I remember about you. But let me throw it to you if you could do a little bit more of the introduction than what I have just done.
What you did was good. I mean, I'm Nick, obviously. I do make music. I love music. Um, but yeah, I chose Stick in the Mud because this time is a great time for personal growth. Even if you can't get outside and enjoy anything that you were able to before, it's definitely a time for introspection and just to reflect upon the years you've had.
Do you see why I asked you to be a guest? This is beautiful already. We can just hang it up right now because that is what my mantra has been all year as well. It's that personal growth. It's time for us to reflect, check our hearts, really, what's
hmm
going on. And also, a lot of people have been fostering their creative gifts. So, this is great. So, let me tell
Yeah.
you, I want to tell a story about Nick. But before I do that, let me tell my stupid innocent story because we are going to be talking a lot about Ralph Ellison's Invisible Man that you had me
hmm
read, 500 pages. You didn't have me read. You just mentioned it in your pre-interview, and I'm like, oh, okay, I got to read that. I should have read that a long time ago, but I just never did. Holy cow, this totally fits into what we're talking about. So
hmm
I had a story of when I was a little kid. My dad was in the home until I was about 3, and he used to play this terrible game with me. I think my sister was involved too, but I don't know. He would say, Amy, where are you? And I'd be sitting right there and I'd be like, Dad, I'm right here. And I was like 3, Dad, I'm right here. And it would be like this joke, right? And I think my sister would even say, Dad, she's right here. Like she would defend me, like, you don't see her? She's right here. And I remember this feeling of desperation. Like, oh my gosh, you don't see me? I'm trying to think if this even connects to my triggers today. Um, Man, maybe it does. But the sad fact is, this whole story of Ralph Ellison's really is about that, not being seen, right?
hmm
If you
Oh
could
yeah.
talk more about the premise of the book, and then if you have a stupid, innocent story, please share that as well.
Will do. So the whole premise of the story is it's about being black within America within the first part of the 20th century. And it's just a super eye opening book, not only to racial injustice, but to ourselves and how we perceive the world around us, uh, and how we perceive others within the world around us, too. And I just had a great time reading the book. Um, I guess my story would go along with it. Um, it's a story of me growing up white passing. So I'm from a mixed background. I'm half German, half Mexican. But throughout like school and high school, I always viewed myself more as white, and I never felt really really a part of this like Mexican side of my family. And I never really thought of race the way that I do now, and never thought about the implications of me being mixed or me being passing. I more so thought like, oh, I'm just here. I'm a person existing. But this book really opened my eyes to like what it means to be a person of color within America. And
Mm,
so like my stupid story is just kind of like going through life not really knowing where I fit in. Well, not where I fit in, but rather what it means to be me and what the
yes.
true implications of my existence mean.
I know. I'm going to quote Ellison already when you said, when I discover who I am, I'll be free. And
Yeah.
let me tell you, you're 21, right?
hmm
And I am a little bit older than that.
Just a little bit,
A
not too
little
much.
bit. I could be your
Yeah.
grandmother, let's just say. But I'm
No.
telling you, even at my age, you're still discovering that who I am piece. you know, and you're still kind of trapped in an internally, I say trapped, but I thought when you get to be my age, you would feel a little bit older inside. No, you feel a little wiser, but you still feel like emotionally like 12. You know, like you still feel
Yeah,
like you're young and you could do that flip off the diving board again and you could jump off the trampoline, whatever. I just feel like my mind can do a lot of things like that, but internally, I don't know, externally my body is not allowing that anymore, you know. So
yeah,
it's
yeah.
really funny that you just say that, because I love that you are discovering who you are through your music. I don't want to get into that yet because I want to go back to when you were speaking about these assumptions we have and how you were white passing and that you identified more white. Now you're understanding what it is to be people of color, and a truly mixed race families. Often there is, you do identify with one side or the other, right? I know I'm French Canadian and I'm Scandinavian, and the Scandinavians are more standoffish and non-affectionate and very stoic and very controlled, right? I mean, the French Canadian were more demonstrative in their love, more loud, more free, I think. So I identified more with the French side, but it's still not mixed. I'm still very white passing, even though I feel
Nope.
brown on the
Mixture
inside.
of culture.
Yeah,
Mixture of
exactly.
cultures.
Yeah.
Um, a big part for me with it was my dad and my uncle had a big falling out. So there wasn't a lot of like throughout my middle school and very like multiple time, there wasn't a lot of us going to see my dad's side of the family, which is Mexican. So it wasn't until the passing of my uncle, which happened uh, just over the summer, um, that I really was able to go back to my dad's side of the family, which opened up this whole new world. It feels like, and
Good.
before that happened, I had finished the Invisible Man, which just opened up my idea of me and what it meant for a person like me to be a person of color and to identify as that. Because when you are white passing, he even talks about it in the book, saying that there are people who are white passing and would rather be white because of what it means to be white and the expectations that come and the privilege that comes with identifying as white and being white. And
Right.
so
Getting away with stuff. Yeah.
exactly. And so finding that and knowing how that privilege has affected my life, but also how I have this entirely opposite side of my family, which is like just such an opposite and would be viewed way different. And like, I go through life thinking like, what if I was more brown like my dad? Like, what would happen? How would people perceive it? So it's definitely makes me reflect a
Yeah.
lot more than I thought I would ever.
Good. Good. I think that's key to identify, even if like you are a Soto, you are Mexican,
Hmm.
and yet you didn't quite identify it or you just pushed it down. You didn't.
Yeah, I just like really never paid attention to it because I always kind of thought it was a little better to not think of race to be quote unquote colorblind. How people say they don't see
Yes.
color,
Right.
but not seeing color and being like colorblind, what that does is that really oppresses people because you don't see their realities.
Yes.
You
Yes.
make them invisible.
Very good. Now, I got a quote I want to read, and then I got a story I want to tell, and I can't decide. I want to tell the story about when you were a freshman in my class. I've only had you in one class, right? When you were a freshman.
Yeah, I don't know why.
Oh, so sad. But you made such an impression on me. One thing that I have to tell is so funny about you. We were doing a paper, and my name is Para. And of course, we always talk about cite your sources, no plagiarism. And you said, hey, if we quote you, would that be considered paraphrasing? Ba-da-bum. Isn't that good? I was like, oh, this kid. Who is this kid in my room? So that was a great heartwarming moment. And then another one I remember, I had a bunch of blankets or fabric in the room, like for bulletin boards or whatever. And I know you found, I don't know what you were going through, but you threw a desk on the side of it. You just sort of like turned a desk on its side during class, the middle of class, and just turn another desk on its side. And I got a blanket and put it over you. And we made you a little
Hmm.
fort. Do you remember what that was all about? I just remember rolling
Not
with it.
really.
Yeah.
Um, but it's something that kind of I carry with me. Um,
Yes.
uh, our class, well, my classmate Hannah, we talk about it sometimes and just how nice of a class it was, and how it just really didn't feel like I think there wasn't an absence of structure, but that like superficial structure of like what it means to be like a, a teacher and a student was like broken down. And I think that's a big thing is like once you take away a lot of the like barriers, it makes it easier for people to communicate and talk and like share experiences,
Yes.
especially for an English class, you know?
Yes. I'm all about making an environment safe, right? It's harder to do
Yeah.
remotely, but I always like to roll with that. And I think I'm more like maybe the improv actor in me. You gave me an offer, you turned the desk on its
Yeah.
side and I said yes and I gave you a blanket, right? So that was
Hmm.
kind of fun. But there's so much you just said that made me think of school. It says, this is an Ellison quote again. What and how much had I lost by trying to do what was expected of me instead of what I myself had wished to do? Now, this
Hmm.
kind of transitions, I think, into what made you decide to start doing your music.
So like I was doing music. I kind of messed around with it since eighth grade, but after high school and after finishing theater, I met friends within high school who were doing music, and it was great. It fostered a great community. I'm now doing music with like people I love, and it's opened up my creative skills. It's allowed me to hone my skills, but what it really does is it gives me a platform to share my experience. And that's what I like about music or just like storytelling or anything is like the sharing of experiences, the sharing of stories, and allowing for people to tell theirs so that you can get a new insight into life. uh, I took a class on the Israel Palestine occupation, and a big part of that was we had to interview people from either side of the discussion. And so I interviewed a Palestinian man, and a big part of that whole idea of getting their story out there is just telling the story
Yes.
and people being open for their stories.
Yes.
And we don't realize the impact that an individual has on another individual's life. Like, you don't have to change the world. You just have to change one person's ideal, and it could create a domino effect.
Ooh, I love that. That's what I said too. The same thing. It's like you think you have to do great things, big things, but it's really all about how do you roll with people that you encounter every single day. That is
Hmm.
key. That is domino effect stuff right there, right?
Yeah, definitely. The interpersonal relationships you have really affect the way you go about your life.
Yes. Now I know that you mentioned community, and I love how schools often will cut the arts, thinking that's just
Hmm.
fluff. And really, I just did a post the other day about I love when a student goes off the rubric because maybe they didn't follow directions, but they were beyond our little box of what an A looks like. It's creative. It is not going to be on the grid. It is off the grid. Therefore,
Hmm.
why do not we foster this? Because the school is a game, right? It's play the game. Ellison quote again, play the game, but don't believe in it. That much you owe yourself. Play the game, but raise the ante, my boy. Learn how it operates and learn how you operate. So it sounds like you're
Hmm.
really learning how you operate now and not be a stick in the mud, as you say. Did you
Yeah.
did you find that you were in a funk before you found the music, or what was
Um,
this stick in the mud? Were you a stick in the mud because you weren't fostering your gifts?
I was a stick in the mud just in the sense that I wasn't really thinking about my own personal growth and what that meant for my creativity.
Mm.
Because doing theater in high school is a way different creative outlet than doing music. And that creativity was just shifted where it was me playing a character. So it wasn't a lot of me expressing myself, which isn't terrible because actors are great at what they do, and a lot of good actors express themselves through their characters. But for me, that wasn't my creative outlet. So I found that really being able to like share my experiences with music. And I've always found that like when I listen to a song and hear a song that really deeply affects me, it's something that like I'll carry with for a while. And it
Mm.
really makes a big impact, probably because I just like really like music. But there's just something to it where you can sit down, listen to a 4 minute story, and hear so much about everything.
Well,
It's
your
just
music,
insane.
it really, your music is not, there's no words to it, right?
No, I do write lyrics. My music so
Oh,
far has been a little just a little kind of here and there, but I've been working on for a while this little project that really I think means a lot. Well, it does mean a lot to me, but I think it's very true to who I am right now and in my situation, which I'm very excited for.
when is this gonna launch?
Not too sure. Still working on it. Still trying to figure out some stuff. But hopefully sometime in the new year. Uh,
Yeah.
pretty soon. Hopefully.
Well, I should really backpedal and say that music without lyrics also tell a story, don't they?
It tells. I think that there's definitely something where it's like your words only go so far, and it kind of goes to like where people are like, yeah, English is a very constrained language. Other languages have words that mean so much, and it's like there's language within music. And that's where jazz musicians are insane, where it's they can improvise, so they're just saying whatever, where a lot of music goes to where it's like, okay, I'm going to use this, which is very structured, and it's almost like just writing and you've written down your answers.
Oh,
Whereas I
right.
think with jazz, you're just free flowing and you're talking. And once you think of like music as a language and ways for people to talk, it opens up the whole idea and concept to like musical like rhythm and phrasing and just hearing music in a different way, because it's not really about like, oh, he's playing an instrument. It's, oh, there's something that's being said right now and I should listen to what's being said.
That's good. I know I was a writing teacher. I feel like I always try to foster that musicality of language, right? Let's play around with
Mm-hmm.
style and find your voice, which is huge, which I see that you are definitely doing. And don't you think you find your voice a lot too in community? Talk more about how you found this community of musicians and what it's done for your soul.
So I was taking music theory 1 and 2. It was my junior year of high school, and I met my buddy Miguel, and his brother Freddie plays music, and just getting into that whole circle. Then I met my buddy Brandon and Sergio, and all these guys are super talented musicians, and just it's community gives you some place where you can take criticism and accept it, and you know that it's not going to be harsh. Whereas
Mm.
if you go to the outside world, it's like, hey, what does anyone think about this song? It's like you're gonna get negativity because people will put that out there.
Yeah.
So uh, getting more critical critiques and actually critiques that will help you, it allows for this community that you have around you to help you grow within your creative process. And I think that once you grow within your creative process, it's almost like it's learning to walk and run. You're
Ooh.
able to take concepts you take from other aspects, and once you grow your like knowledge base on your creative field, you're able to take different concepts and put them in there because you're just growing up. You know how to do different things. You know, you're
I,
growing with it.
I love that you're embracing critiques and tactful advice and how to push your art forward. It reminds me of another Ellison quote. Assumptions about people groups really hinders identity and growth. That's my thought. Sorry, that's my thought. Because he says, our task is that of making ourselves individuals. The conscience of a race is a gift of its individuals who see, evaluate, and record. We create the race by
Mm-hmm.
creating ourselves, and then by our great astonishment, we will have created something far more important. We will have created a culture. Why waste time creating conscience of something that doesn't exist? For you see, blood and skin do not think.
Hmm. Just so such a good quote, you know, and just like I think it is this big idea where it's like the masses won't create. It will be individuals which will create, and the masses will consume. And what
Ooh,
that does to people is that it gives them it gives them confidence. They feel good about themselves, and it allows for this culture to thrive. And culture really comes from community. Culture is a bunch of traditions stacked on each other that have created this way to live and this certain identifier to be a part of a certain community or culture. And they're definitely hand in hand. If you don't have a good community, you won't have a good culture.
ooh, that's so
And
true. If we divide each other, if we divide our community, then we have no power.
no, none at all.
And you just mentioned, I want to say it again, the if you the masses consume, what did you say?
Yeah, the masses consume the art or anything that you make, anything creative that you make.
What if you throw it out there and no one's consuming it? Have you noticed that it's been a fear of yours or anything?
Um, I was watching a podcast with these two rappers. One's Talib Kweli, and the other one's this rapper JPEGMAFIA, and he was saying how putting a song into the world is like sending a kid to high school. You don't know what's gonna happen to it. That kid will be influenced by different things. The entity itself will influence people differently, and it'll be received differently. Everything about it will not be what you want it to be. So why be afraid to put whatever you want out there when it's not going to be however you expect it to be? You
That's
know,
so
it's
good.
kind of it's like that absurdity of life where it's just like no matter what you throw out there, it's just going to happen. It's not going to be the way you expect it.
It's like throwing a spaghetti against the wall to see if it's done. Have you done that when you make spaghetti?
Yeah, exactly. It's just you're hoping it sticks. If it doesn't, it doesn't. You'll move on.
Right.
It'll be a like stone within the path that is your creativity. And you
Really?
can go back to it and like really look back and be like, "You know what? This might have not been something that was fulfilling for a lot of people, but it was for me." You
Yes.
know? And I think that self-fulfillment with your art is super hard to get to.
Mm,
And it, it's it's needed to be done. You know,
yeah.
it's you can't be perfect about everything.
Well,
And
that's the
that's I
thing, I
think
think.
what makes it really good is that when it's not perfect and there's those imperfections, like that's what makes it, you know.
Yes. And that's why the whole school thing, we train you to be perfect. No zeros in the grade book. Make sure you have an A. And it's like, why? Right? What about,
Hmm.
can you tell us maybe about one failure that we would perceive as failure that was really one of those great phoenix out of the ashes moments for you?
Yeah, it was actually the failure of chemistry honors in high school. Yeah, so I
Oh,
failed it
wait, is
and
that still considered then a D if you fail it? Because you know
no,
how,
it
oh,
was
it's a
failure.
failure.
Like I failed that class.
Did you fail it with
Um
like a 0%, I'm not trying, or did you fail it because you just couldn't get the concepts?
Um, I was trying, but it was around the time when my aunt had passed away sophomore
Mm,
year, so it was
mm,
just like a very turbulent time.
mm.
But it just ended up being like a zero, like across the
Yeah,
board zero. So
yeah.
I went into just the regular chemistry class and got a B. And what it really showed me was that I can try really hard and not get anything out of it, or I can really focus on myself and do well as well. And that's been a big thing right now with me too is with the pandemic, it's been terrible with classes. And I had
Oh,
such a rough semester taking, I think, what was it, like 5 classes?
does
I
it
was like,
let
I
does
need to take 4.
well does the professor like talk the whole time, or how does that work?
Depending on the class, some were lecture. I have very different classes. So, like, one of my classes was a 3 hour lecture hall. The other one was like about a hour and a half lecture hall, and then we would kind of get out early. And it was just a semester of a lot of work. But what it really showed me was like, okay, I need to know where my mental health stands within this whole this whole idea of me going to college because I don't want to sacrifice my academics, but I also don't want to sacrifice everything about me. I don't
Yes.
not want to be me.
You can
So,
find yourself in the midst of it for sure. I always find
oh
myself
yeah.
more in the midst of a valley than I do on the mountaintop. I like a good
Yeah.
valley, you know? There's something about a valley that's just really like tantalizing. That's the right word.
Yeah,
Um,
well, you need them. They're so necessary to you not being a stick in the mud because it's progression,
yeah.
and you need to hit a low to have the clarity of where I need to go from there, and that's
Woo,
what it's all about.
truly. We got to embrace the journey like Odysseus, right?
Yes, exactly.
Another Ellison quote made me think, and my problem, I always tried to go everyone's way but my own, which you just said. I think people that are feeding off each other's funk right now and, oh, we can't go anywhere and da 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 and all the things we have to do, when really it's like, wait a minute, let's flip it on its head and look at it like, wait, this is an opportunity for really getting
Mhm.
some rest and getting some
Oh yeah.
growth, right?
Mhm. Definitely. This this whole like low peak in everyone's life, I think should just be used to really understand who you are, get in tune with your body and like your mental health and all your health, and just really understand where you're standing at, what your wants and needs are, what your plans for your life after this are going to be, and just put it all in perspective into what you want, into what your dreams are. Goals have changed, dreams have changed, and that's good. It's good to
Yeah.
have those change within things that you want, because it means that you are having different priorities, you are changing, your outlook is different, and that's a big part of it.
What are your practical things? I know music is one, but what if you're not musical? What are some of the practical things you've been doing to gain more like peace or mental health, or what are you doing?
So I took an Art of Islam class this semester, and that opened up my eyes to art being almost anything. Because you look at the art that they were creating within like the ninth century, and it's these earthenware pots that have beautiful inscriptions on them from artists, and it's just this everyday household bowl, and that's how it would be utilized. But the artists, like the just I can't think of the word, not craftsmanship, but it is like that. Just the
Artisanship, is it?
artisanship that went into creating that bowl has it took someone a long time, and someone put everything into that's a part of their life's work for that moment once they finish that bowl before they go on to the next one. And
That's
just
beautiful.
understanding that, like, I think a lot of what we consume is produced for us by machines, and not having that human connection to where it's like this glass was made by someone else and I don't have those skills,
Mm-hmm.
and just finding the art in everything. There's an art to bricklaying, there's an art to sweeping, there's an art to about any task you could do. And that's what separates people who are athletes, people who are
Mm-hmm.
professionals, and people who are musicians or artists from just regular old people. You know, it's kind of the
Yeah.
jack of all trades, master of none.
Yeah, it makes me think of just what I used to always tell students about poetry in motion. You know, the sports world has that,
Mm-hmm.
a skier that's flipping his, doing his flips and landing and stuff. But I even think just like how you with the tent that you created in class, that was like poetry in motion. Like poetry is everywhere, right? You just have
Yeah.
to look for it, like you said. And that you made me think of another thing too. People who cook a meal with their
Oh
soul
yeah.
and their heart and they give it to you and you say, oh no no no, you just tortured their soul. You need to
Yeah.
receive it no matter how what you're trying to do. But also I know, like, even as somebody who cooks without an audience to cook for, without somebody to cook for, I loathe cooking. And it
Mm-hmm.
when I throw this food on the plate, it's just like bleh. And it's like music making, and it's like poetry writing. So you
Yeah.
just help me kind
Yes.
of flip the way I look at things now. I need to even include the things that I loathe into the poetic dance that we do of life, right?
Yeah, I feel like if you don't make life uh this big old art piece, it's super hard to get through.
Yes,
Cuz life
man.
can be so it can be so abstract, and anything could happen where it feels like an art piece. It
Right.
feels like you're in a movie maybe sometimes. And
Oh
that's the
man.
whole beauty to it,
Yeah.
you know? It's just looking at your life and thinking like, wow, this is crazy, but it's there's always going to be something else, and to strive for that to strive for that new purpose or that new goal you want to reach, even no matter how small it is. A goal and reaching your goals is so self-fulfilling, and it's
Yes.
like sometimes you need that selfishness. You
Yes.
need to focus on yourself. You need to get the goals that you want to get and
That's
achieve.
good. Very good. Now, before we get into the rapid fire questions and the three, two, one, did you have anything else you wanted to say?
um there's just so much to learn out there, and for people who are in a slump, there's so much to consume. There's so much art, there's so much everything out there that you'll find inspiration anywhere.
Yes.
And inspiration's around the corner where you least expect it
I love
every
that.
single time.
Then people just have to really then tap into their passion, right? And really be curious. And the minute you shut
Oh
your
yeah.
curiosity off, you're dead, right?
Yeah, the moment you stop wanting to learn, or the moment you stop wanting to understand something, that's just you're a stick in the mud. You're a stick in the mud. You're stagnant. You're not going anywhere.
That's such a good way to circle back to the title. Okay, ready? So
All
you want
right.
to go with your
So
three, two, one? Three.
Three anything. So three. I'm gonna go with three like events or just things to do. Um, One, listen to an album fully. Your favorite album fully back to like just front to back. Two, when you're able to go to a museum, any museum. They're just institutions for learning, and they will just show you the world.
Mm.
And then three is reflect on yourself. Really show yourself who you are. Meditate, and just really get in tune with who you are and your body, your health, your mental health, all of it.
Love it. All right. Two.
Um, I'll do two books to read. Read The Alchemist and read The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho, and read uh, read The Invisible Man. It's great.
Yes.
It's really
You,
great.
you were reading The Alchemist freshman year because I think I started reading it.
Yeah, it's that book is so amazing. I just reread it not too long ago, and what it holds in it is just like so much. You
Yes.
need to read that as many times as you can, because there's something new each time.
I've learned that as a literature teacher that you never need to read a book once. You have to read them more because
Oh
the
yeah.
nuance and the new ideas that come about because of what where you are in your own life, right? It sometimes hits you
Mhm.
differently than it did 10 years ago. So that's good. Okay,
Definitely.
one.
One habit to adopt for me, I've had the privilege of keeping my creative space away from where I sleep and where I go to just do my own thing. I have my record player and all my other stuff in a different room, and then I have all my music stuff in one room. And it creating this separation, especially from your bed right now, to your creative space, it's an entirely new world. You don't ever feel like, oh, there's the bed, I'll just lay down. It makes you want to work. You have a certain place to work. You're structuring your life to be around your creativity.
I just heard that it's important to even schedule rest or downtime. Like, people that make those lists, I haven't gotten that far, but like literally, I think I do it mentally, just sort of chill out. As
Yeah.
soon as I sit on that couch, it's over, right? Which
Oh
kind
yeah.
of, that's good. That kind of transitions us into the rapid fire, if you don't mind. Okay, here we go.
Okay.
Rapid fire. Last show you streamed or binge watched?
uh Rami. It's on Hulu. It's 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 great. It opens your eyes to a new religion, to a religion of Islam, which is highly looked down upon within America. It shows you the culture and a lot of. There's just a whole lot of stuff to learn and to just consume from that. It's great.
And you see the theme here, folks? We are on a theme of opening your mind, opening your hearts. All
Hmm.
right. Number two, this is are you a morning person or a night owl?
I try to be a morning person. I find myself staying up late. Coffee helps in the morning. Uh, but yeah, coffee. If
Okay.
that could be an answer,
I know
coffee would
what you
be the
mean because
answer.
I love being a night owl, but I had to train myself to be an early bird, and now I'm an early bird. I go to bed at like 8:30, 9 o'clock at night. It's crazy.
It's
Uh,
one of the best feelings waking up early in the morning. Feel like
that
you have a whole
energy of
day
the
ahead of
early
you.
morning. Yeah, it's the energy of the early morning is very
Oh
chill,
yeah.
but so is the night owl energy at 2 a.m. as well. It's the
Mhm.
same energy. When everybody's asleep, you're like, oh, I can finally breathe. That's my favorite time of day as well. Okay. A snapshot of an ordinary moment that gives you true joy.
Being on the L. I
Oh,
would take the train in every single day to school, and once the pandemic hit, it was gone. And at first, I was like, oh, okay, less gas. I'm
yeah.
wasting. I'm saving more money.
Yeah.
And then I became like, oh, I really miss the L
I
because it
know.
shows you so much of humanity. There's so
Yes.
much that goes on, from the
Yes.
businessman going in with his
Yes.
suit and tie on, to the little kid going to school, to the homeless man.
Yes.
There's a lot
The
that just
L, you
happens.
took the orange line in?
Yep, the orange line
Okay.
from
So,
Midway.
yep. The L train, of people that don't know Chicago, is what we call the L. And then I take the Metra from Oak Lawn, and now it leaves at 2:52. And our bell
Hmm.
was ringing at 2:23. So I would bust my body. I had to walk to the train, and I barely made it in 20 minutes. But it's true. There's something fun about the adventure of getting on a train every day, and it's like
Yeah,
it's just an adventure.
it's just being around people,
Yeah.
and there's just such an interesting. I think that people, humans, are so based in being around each other,
Mm-hmm.
from tribes to communities to
Yes.
everything around you.
Mm-hmm.
Having people, even if you don't know them, there's that energy that comes with them.
Yeah, it's
Everyone has a fire for what they want to do, and
yes.
you just see so much,
And
you
it's
know?
poetry in motion again, like you were saying.
Yeah,
You can look at it as, ooh, I don't know about this person. I know about that person. Oh, but we also are invisible on the train because in the city you're kind of like there's anonymity and nobody really notices you, even though there's people everywhere, which is why I like it.
yeah,
But
yeah.
the same thing with the train experience. I love it. Okay, one thing you're grateful for.
Family. Family is something I think people take for granted. Um, some people view it as something negative,
Mhm.
but don't understand the. I guess if you wanted to put it into like academic or like business terms, is like networking. You like
Oh,
your family knows so much more than you think they know, that there's just talking that needs to be done, experiences that need to be learned from others, and growing up with three women in the household has been great.
mm,
It I've been trying to open myself up to, by taking classes on decolonization,
yes.
learning about my next class I want to take is about women. I need to know about women's history.
I love it.
Um, and this is all because we're not taught this in
Yeah.
school.
Right.
We're not taught a lot about different cultures. We know
Right.
a ton about Europeans,
Yep.
but we don't know a lot about Africans. We don't know a lot about the
Yes.
Chinese. We don't know a lot about what's going on in the Middle East, the
Yes.
indigenous people to this
Yes.
land, and to women, to people of color, to the LGBTQ plus community. There is
Yep.
so much that is left out that is so vital to
Yes.
being a human within the
Yes.
world in 2020
Well, you
or
didn't take them.
2021.
Right, right. And that's kind of segues into what I want the last question. But before I do that, you mentioned the women. I used to teach American Studies, and we had them read The Awakening by Kate Chopin. I recommend that you read that book. It's very thin but very
Okay.
dense. You almost need to read it twice, but
Hmm.
it's definitely a book that's going to give you a view of what women feel like in a society that has expectations on them, which we talked about with the Invisible Man, right? There's these
Yeah.
expectations, there's these assumptions, and there's these, we must do these things, but that is so stifling to individuality and who we really are inside, right? When these
Hmm.
putting these boxes. Okay, last question. One thing you're going to do differently in 2021 that you never did even in 2019. This is something totally different.
Tell everyone I love them,
Oh,
no matter like. uh, with them being friends, family, just like really show the appreciation for people that
I love that.
you appreciate.
That's
Because
beautiful.
uh, even the term love is, it can stretch so far and mean so many different things. So just showing people that you appreciate them means a lot.
Oh, that's good, Nick. Wow. Well, where can we find you before we sign off with our love yous?
Um, my Instagram is just Nick M Soto. That's where I do most of my stuff. I'm on Spotify and Apple Music under Nick Soto, so you can find me there if
That's
you want to
awesome.
hear some of my music.
For sure. We're going to direct them there, Nick. Thank you so much. I
Yeah,
love
thank you.
you and I've loved this time together.
Love you too.
Awesome. Well, hopefully we'll see you soon.
Yeah, hopefully. Thank you.
Awesome.